Hi, welcome to Coding After Work stream. As per usual, we want to thank our sponsor, Progress Telleric, because they are really amazing.
They are.
They are. They have Blazor UI components.
Over 75 components.
Chances are they have what you need. And their support, fantastic. And we will add a link in the chat later.
Yeah.
So we are recording all streams and we put them on YouTube. So if you are not already following us on YouTube, please subscribe. Did you catch it?
I think so. Maybe.
Did you click it? We would appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you guys also click the YouTube button. On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yes. But now, let's do some coding.
Let's do some coding.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Last week, we set up a web page. We had sprints or streams because, well, it's hard to do real sprints on the stream. So we decided one stream is one sprint. So what's the plan for today? Should we take a look in the backlog, perhaps?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's switch over and take a look at the backlog.
Yes, we have a backlog. I like backlogs.
Actually, I think let's start with talking about what we did last time.
Yeah, because we ran into some issues.
Yeah.
Let's solve those.
So what we did, we talked about how to use pipelines to deploy our website.
Yeah, on Azure.
On Azure. So I was a little bit stubborn. I wanted to
Is that what you want to go with?
Yep. So I had a working pipeline. I wanted to use that pipeline. It annoyed me that it didn't work.
And we even have had a really wonderful viewer helping out, Stacy. Shout out to her. Yet someone decided to copy code.
That's how developers work. We copy code from Stack Overflow or things we've done previously.
Yeah,
And
with that we get some issues. But there were some differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing on the screen right now is the YAML file. First of all, I said I don't like YAML.
That is true, I remember.
The chat said you should do it in YAML.
Well, that was actually because you're so stubborn, so you had that one coming.
All right, so this is the YAML file for the first version that we did on stream. So what it's doing down here, we can talk about, we have a couple of variables here. We are installing some NuGet packages, and we are building. And in that build, we also have a, let's scroll over here, desktop build package location. And we are deploying, where is it? Package as a single file. We are doing a web publish at this point. So what this is doing is that it's taking our build, it's making a package or making a publish, creating a package and putting it so that we can put it in our artifacts later on. Then we're doing a little bit of testing and then we publish those artifacts. So this code worked just fine, no problems when we got there eventually.
After you copy-pasted and cheated. Oh, I'm in the code. Let me move.
So I went back to the drawing board and I thought about, so what are the upsides, what are the downsides? And
I'm in the way
theoretically, the code, doing the build and doing the publish at the same time would be faster because the building step doesn't have to check is the files built or not. Now we're talking about I'm guessing not I'm guessing not even seconds. So looking at what Stacy said on the stream,
which was correct,
absolutely, no question about that. I knew that on stream as well.
Yeah, I know you did.
So what we did instead, so I did this off stream. I created a build. So we're just building the project. We are running the tests, which we don't have any at this point. We're doing a publish because I don't want to do a publish if the test fails.
That makes sense.
It makes sense, right?
Is this the version that was suggested, or is this a hybrid version? A new version?
This is, I didn't have the chat still accessible, so
Okay.
I don't know exactly
Yeah. Okay.
what the syntax was, but this is the gist of it at least. So we're running the test, and then we are doing a publish. So we know that the project builds. We know that all the tests are okay. Then we're doing a publish, and then we are publishing the artifacts to our artifact staging directory. So I decided to go with the other solution, the non-mine solution, the stasis solution, because it made more sense thinking about it that we shouldn't do the same thing more than once.
No, and especially we shouldn't try to publish something that had failed tests.
Exactly. So if we were in a scenario where we're not doing tests, that
Shouldn't be.
Exactly. We're in the wrong solution. Now, if we are in a scenario where we don't have tests for God knows what reason, doing it as I did in the first version, that would work better. That would be faster,
Well,
technically.
Marginally.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into what we are doing today.
Yes.
So this is
Let's
our
see.
backlog. So what are we doing today?
Well, I think we should add that test project because we need to have tests.
We need to have tests. Okay, so let's drag that in there.
And I think we should start to think about the colors
Colors.
on the page because I think we will have issues. But I have yet to put any items on the colors. Maybe I should do that.
So let's switch over to your computer.
We can do that. Here we go. My computer. Welcome to my computer. Okay, so I feel like we today, again, need to explain why we're not looking at each other when we talk. Because if I look at Jimmy, this is the way the camera is switched around. So we are having a little bit of issues with that, mostly me.
And just before we started, she said, now, don't look at me, because that would look strange on the stream.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, you looked at me. And also, I can boop you from here. Boop.
Boop.
Okay, this is starting great. When it comes to color, I think we will have issues. Because we have very bright colors. But first, I think we need to create a color palette. Is it spelled like that? No, it's not. It is in Swedish, I think. There we go. So we need to create a color palette. Let's do that. And we also need to check for low vision issues. Well, it's not color issues for low vision. Well, I will understand what it says.
That's good. That's good.
When that day comes, and I'm looking at you again. There we go. And we also need to look for. Let's see. Check for. What is it called? Color. Low color. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on everything. I have been like this all day. My gosh. I don't even have a clue. When you can't see colors the same way as the rest of the world does. Let's call it issues.
Color issues.
Yeah, because it is an issue, which is not that great. So we need to check for color issues as well. I think color is done. Do I just drag it to the sprint? Look at that.
And I think we also should do a component library, because that's the one that we're going to test. So if you drag that over as well.
Okay, let's do that.
That would be perfect.
And I think that's about what we will have time for.
Yeah. Let's start with that at least. Yeah. All right. Should I start?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I think so.
I'm switching back to my machine.
Awesome.
So this is our project from last time. We have a Coding After Work Blazor project, Blazor server project. So what we want to do, we want to add first of all, we want to add a component library. Let's start with that. So I'm going to add a new project. I'm going to add Eraser class library, because Blazor is using Razor components. A little bit naming issue there, I believe. So we're going to have a Razor class library. Let's create one of those. Let's call it Coding After Work.
Makes sense.
Components. Components. There we go. Coding After Work .components. And we're going to leave the location because that's going to make it drop in the right folder. We don't need support for pages and views because, well, it's a Blazor project, so we're just going to use it for components. We're going to use .NET 5 for now. This is really hurting me.
It is.
Using old versions of .NET.
Well, I think it's the current version. It's just you think it's.
Is there a new version?
I know.
So Windows 11, they talked about Windows 11 today. I'm using Windows 10. What's up with that?
Yeah, you're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, I know.
It's not available, but still.
All right, so we have our Coding After Work .components. Let's just take a sneak peek in what's in there. We have a www root folder, and all of those files is going to be available to us when all of those files can be available to us, I should say. And we will use those in the coming episodes. So let's just leave that for now. But we have a little bit of example JavaScript calls. We have an underscore imports, which is going to be all the Blazor components is going to automatically include all of those namespaces in that imports file. We have a component, which is just a normal component. And we have a example JavaScript interrupt.
And we got all that from creating the component, or
the component library, or
yes.
the component project.
Awesome.
All right. So we don't need a component library. We don't need the example JavaScript interrupt. So let's delete those.
And not only because you don't like JavaScript either.
That's true. We don't need a background, and we don't need an example JavaScript. But we do need our www root folder. All right? So let's just bring in a couple of things. So in the Coding After Work project, we got a couple of components for free. So what we're going to do, we're going to take all of the Razor components, cut those out, paste them in our components library. So now our original project doesn't have any components in there at all. So So what we can do, actually, that's not true. We have a couple of components here, but we're going to keep those there.
Liar.
We could move those as well. So in our app.razor, we have a router, and that router is telling us where can it find all the components. And in this case, it's going to look at in the app assembly, as you can see here. And it's going to look for the type program and whatever assembly that class lives in. In this case, it's going to be the coding of the work assembly. But what we can do is we can add a little bit of additional assemblies. So I can tell our router that I want you to look in additional assemblies, one or many. So I want to add a dependency, a project dependency to our coding of the work.components. There we go. And it takes an array. So I'm just going to actually copy this from another project. So I'm going to say coding
there we go.
after work dot components. There we go, components. And we're just going to select one of these components and use that as a reference. So let's just take the index one.
So we're not actually using the index one, you're just using it for a startup or what?
No, it's actually just saying that I'm looking for the assembly that the index file is currently located in.
Right.
So I'm not using it at this point. I could have used another class. It doesn't have to be an eraser class at all. But let's just use that one for now. And we want to bring in that assembly. So if I run this, hopefully...
Uh-oh.
Everything breaks.
But that just means we need to fix it.
So why is it breaking? All right. So let me see the error list again. So it's referring to data. It's that which is a namespace, and it's referring to the weather forecast and the weather forecast service, and those are located in here. So I need to move those out as well. I'm gonna bring that folder out. Let's just bring that in there. There we go.
Into the component coding of the work components.
Yes,
yeah.
Because it needs to be accessible there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's see. Let's build it again. Let's see if that works better. It works better. Let's run this. So now we're running the coding of the work project, the same project that we used last time, but none of these components is in the same library. They're now living in the .components library instead.
Right.
So what we're going to do later on is we're going to create a Blazor WebAssembly project, and we're going to use this exact code to use those components in that project.
Yeah,
But
because
that-
the weather forecast we won't really use.
No,
I see.
this is just for show.
Yeah, and you like the counter. You do like that
I
one.
do like to look at this.
Yeah, and it's so fast. It bugs me.
All right, great. So the next step is we want to add a test project. So let's do that. So we're going to add a new project. Going to add a, look at that, it's already here. bUnit test project. So
bUnit is... We
It's-
actually had him as a guest.
we did.
We did.
Egil Hansen.
Hansen.
We
Yeah.
have I think in the beginning of next month, we're going to have a podcast with him as well. Going to release that. So what you need to do, which I already did, is install the templates. So you need to run this in PowerShell or from within Visual Studio. So we just need to bring those down. And we're going to create a test project. Let's call it coding after work dot tests. Now I've seen a couple of people that switch the order, so they're writing test dot coding after work instead.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
No, but I see. Actually, when it comes to our folder structure on our streaming computer, I have switched from this version to putting test before, because then I know alphabetically exactly where to look instead of just having to go coding after work and then. And
well, it makes sense, I guess.
especially if you don't remember if you had any spaces or not spaces and stuff like that.
But I'm gonna keep the one I'm used to. So let's code it coding after work dot tests. So this is going to give us a couple of things. First of all, it's going to give us an import. It's going to give us a counter component.
Let's try that again. I was trying to put in when we're talking about components.
Yeah.
But I misspelled progress. My gosh.
So we have a counter component, and this component is the same as with the one that we get in the default template. So we're actually going to, let's just run the test first. So we're going to take a look at the tests. Now I'm in no way a test expert, but
you do your best.
I do my best.
Yeah.
So it's creating a test context. It's the first test is going to test if the counter is at 0. So it's going to render a component, in this case the counter component. It's going to find the p tag and check that the markup matches the text here, so that the counter is 0. Now if we click the button, we want to make sure that it's going to show 1. So it's going to this is using a cut in this case, or component under test. So we're going to render the counter component. We're going to try to find the button. We're going to click it, and if the p tag markup matches this current count equal or :1 is correct or not, the test is going to pass. So let's try and run the test first.
Yeah, and like we said before, on YouTube we have a video with Egil, who is behind bUnit, and the upcoming podcast episode that comes out next month, I think will be really, really good. It's very helpful, I would say. For me, at least. I'm not a tester.
Let's see if it finds tests. Why aren't you showing tests? Show me the tests. Here we go. Right, so we have
Is it
2
possible
tests.
to zoom in?
I would say no.
Okay.
It's totally gonna mess with my computer.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a couple of tests. Let's run them. They pass.
That's good.
That's good. So let's see if I can figure this one out again. So
yeah, I can't handle the magnifier either.
So the problem here is that we have the counter component in the same project, in the test project. So we're going to remove that counter. Gone. And we're going to add a dependency to our components library. There we go.
And why do we do that instead?
So we want to test the components that we are building. So we want, instead of having the components in the test project, we want to be able to test the the actual components that we're using.
Yeah, now I feel stupid.
So what we want to do, we want to test the counter component. Now the counter components is not in the same namespace anymore. So we need to add a using statement to the codingafterwork.components. So there we go. It finds the component. Great.
Could you tell me the shortcut for that? Because I know when I watch online stuff and there's a secret keyboard shortcut that I'm the only one in the world who doesn't know, I get irritated. Tell me your secret.
That's control dot.
Control dot. Thank you.
I'm sure there are many other shortcuts that I don't know, but that was the one I used. All right, so we got that one settled. Let's go to our test explorer again and rerun the tests.
Yeah, and now we're rerunning it outside. Well, look at that.
And they pass.
Yes. And
So-
they were fast.
Yeah.
Because there's not much to test, really.
So now we're testing the components in the codingafterwork.components library. The Coding After Work project is using the components in the components library. We don't have any components in here anymore. So we are all set to start developing and having those having a component library and only using that component library. Sweet. We are all set.
That's nice.
Let's just go into our repo and let's take a look at, we're gonna add test projects. So let's take a look at the number 339. So what you can do here is that you can write resolve 339.
So what does that mean?
So it's going to resolve the work item in DevOps. I'm going to take a look at this one as well.
Automatically?
338. Well,
Semi-automatic.
Semi-automatic. I need to write it like this, right?
Yeah, but it's shorter.
338, right? There we go. And we got we added a component. 337. 337. There is some kind of short for just linking the check-in to the item as well. I don't remember it from the top of my head. And 340.
We did add a Razor library.
340.
Oh, they actually shows up there too.
Yeah. So we can commit this.
And I'm pointing at the screen, like everybody will see the screen I'm looking at.
You should. It's showing up there. There.
Yeah.
And we can just push that to our.
Oh, why can't it push?
Unable to push remote because I have an old one.
Oh.
Since I did a couple of changes, that change is not downloaded here. So let's just say I'm gonna pull and then push. Let's see if this works. If I got
right, because you worked on solving
there we go.
the issue offline.
Yeah,
off stream, I should say.
So I used my stationary computer when I did that.
Okay.
I am so happy this worked because you do not want to see me handle a Git conflict.
True story. He worked from home.
So, what do you think about when it comes to colors? What do we need to think about?
Well, we do have. If you switch over to my screen.
There we go.
Shameless plug first, because look at this. It's the kitty corn, and I'm not only shameless. It actually all proceeds from this goes to a an LGBTQ friendly cause that helps people all over the world with issues you might. Well, actually, some people are in real danger. It's, for me, it's flabbergasting. So everything with the kitty corn in our store goes to that organization. Now and forever.
And who does not want the kitty corn?
I mean, look at it.
It's so fluffy, I could die.
I know, right? Yeah. So go do that. Or type exclamation point. Is it mark? Exclamation mark?
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, exclamation mark, kitty corn in the chat room. But that's not why we're here. We're here for this. This is our background. This is our logo. We did not choose the colors of the logo because we do not make our own logos. Because someone is a perfectionist and will never be done. I don't know who, but they're standing over here. And I think that we actually will have a few issues with using this on the web. So, what we can do is go over to a page called color.adobe.com. In a good way, well, actually, there are plenty of more pages like this, colorlovers.com and many more like this that we can use to get some help setting up a color palette for, or a color scheme, if you rather, for your apps and pages and what have you. And a good way of thinking is that we need a base color, we need a darker color, we need a lighter color, and we need a contrast color, or a fun color, if you will. I think it was called accent color in Windows 8 and Windows Phone.
Good old times.
Yeah, I remember. It might sound like, how are you going to be able to do with just 4, maybe 5 colors? But on top of this, we can add a transparent layer of white or black in steps of like 10% or so we can get some variations for hover features, for showing that buttons are pressed and what's more important and stuff like that. And of course, that can be done to some extent in code as well. So I have put in these colors on this palette. Doesn't really look that good. So the color A, let me zoom in on that. There we go. Much more easy to zoom in with your fingers on the screen. So the color A is the gray background we have on our streaming background. The color B is from the angle brackets. The color C is from those we call mountains down below. D obviously is also from the logo, and E is from the other mountain, if we call it that. These triangle thingies. Mm-hmm. I think that this might be an issue. Or do you want to try that? No? But we could still, first of all, we should discuss, do we want red, which is a signal color that will steal focus from the user while they're browsing around? Do we even want that? I'm asking you a question. Or should we do a more plain page and just have the logo every, I don't know, a few pops of colors?
Well, I would argue that there might be places where we want to draw their attention.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But
let me ask the question like this. What is the most important thing on the page? That would be listing episodes, listing streams, right?
Yeah. But if you think about it, we don't want to have our visitors. Perhaps we don't want them to watch YouTube videos on our page.
No.
We want to inform them, hey, there is some content over on YouTube or
Yeah.
over in your favorite podcast app or
Yeah.
on TikTok and so on. So maybe stealing their attention might not be a bad thing at all.
As long as we don't use the red for text. Because I think that might be an issue.
Mhm.
And I also know that you're not a fan of the light blue.
I am not a fan of the light blue.
So perhaps we should do a cream color and another hue of gray or something instead of the really bright in your face red and blue.
You just want the gray that we have on our car, right?
I do want the gray we have on our car. Which is the same color as the sky right now, because we have an incoming thunderstorm again, I think.
That explains why my brain hurts.
Yes. Yes. It's the season of migraines. Okay, so if we just start out with the same gray color as we have to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. I am going to switch over to hue. And I think this is hue, saturation, and I'm used to L, which is lightness, but maybe this is something else. I don't know. And I can just drag this to be a little bit lighter.
But isn't this kind of the same thing as adding the transparent white layer?
Well, it sort of is. But yeah, well, you have a point. Damn you. Okay, so let's make it a little bit more on the lighter side then. C4, do you want C4? So it can go boom? You want that, don't you?
I do.
And why do I put C2 then? Well, actually, I think those are pretty good. Both of them as a light theme background and as a dark theme background. Because I'm guessing we need both a dark and a light background or a theme, because we have different preferences, and also for accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about like text color? Does the text color needs to be in the palette as well?
Well, it depends on who you ask, really. I would say as long as you save your colors in a shared resource, so you know what your text color is, it's fine to either use it here or just have another one. Actually, sometimes I cheat and I don't count near black or near white because for me, they are more like neutrals or just background noise or whatever. And we don't even have to use all the colors we do have in the color scheme either.
But if we have 5 colors, do we really... Should we still stick to 5 colors, or should we have 10 colors? One for light theme and one for dark theme?
Probably we need to have one for dark theme and one for light theme. And also, since my brain doesn't work because thunder season, this is actually just putting a transparent layer over this as well.
Well, gray is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know.
the same thing, right?
I know. So what else do we need? We have the red, dark red, we have the dark blue, and we have that really in-your-face red if we need it. Well, maybe we should just do the text color. Actually, I do have a text color I already looked at. Because there are a few other things that we need to think about when it comes to colors. Like World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C. I have such issues.
It's impossible to say that.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know if it's a 3 or C. Well, there you go. Anyway, they have a web accessibility initiative.
That was hard to say as well.
I know. And there will be more. Just you wait. But what they do is develop standards and support material for us to use. And they have so much stuff for us because they're they have taken it upon themselves since the start of internet, basically, to make the web more accessible for everyone. And they're a non-profit organization. So they have a web content accessibility guideline. Whew! I got that one right. And I mean, I'm not kidding. They help so much. If we just do one or two things, it will make eons of difference. So we also have to think about contrast. Just not colors, but contrast as well. So contrast, at least according to WCAG, is the difference in perceived luminance or brightness between two colors. Oh, of course, we can change colors using alpha or transparency, as we talked about as well. But that can also affect the contrast. If you're having nested elements and you put a transparency on one, the text might also get a transparency, which means the contrast will be off. So, can you switch screens again? Because I can show you.
You want to show the PowerPoint?
Yes. So and now I'm pointing to the screen up here, like you can see it.
It's over there. There.
There. Which is really awkward because I'm pointing at the wrong direction. So this is measured by a ratio from 1:1, which is white text on white background, which I wouldn't recommend.
Well, why not?
Well, because white text on white background. Are you hearing this? You didn't.
So there is a I don't remember where I read it, but there was a anonymous CV. So a company got an anonymous CV sent to them, where the name was white text on white background. So it was just marking it, and there we go.
So it wasn't that anonymous.
It wasn't anonymous at all.
Yeah, that's an oopsie. I like the initiative, though.
Yeah.
Well, not doing the white on white, but
Kind of lazy, just we're just gonna white it out.
Yeah.
It's not Tipex.
No, exactly. So on the other scale, which I think is what you thought I said, is black text on white background or vice versa. And that's the maximum of contrast, and that is 21:1.
Is that kind of a Deadpool reference? Maximum contrast.
Yes, it is. Thank you for noticing. Every time I say maximum or effort. Nerd. Of course, there are minimum recommendations for thinking about this from an accessibility point of view. There are two different levels, and one is AA, which is what you can see here, and which is also why you might guess that is a minimum requirement, because this is a medium gray on white.
That's not easy to read.
It's not easy, and actually, when the screen is smaller, like it might be on Twitch, it looks like it's higher contrast than it actually is. So in real life, it looks even worse. So this is the minimum for passing AA. And then we have a AAA. And you can see there's a slight difference in these two.
Yeah.
And this is, actually, I think the recommendation, is it 7.7 to 1 or is it 7.5 to 1? Well, it's one of those two. And this is 7 to 5 I'm showing on the image. And if you look up to the header, that text on that background is 15.55 to 1. So that makes quite a difference. Now for AAA, it's most text should be 7 or 7.1 or 7.5. I can't even remember. But that's for most text. You can still have like headers and things in 4.5 and still be passing AAA. So this is minimum requirement. If you have anything lower than that, you will make trouble for many, many people.
But why are we not going to, what was it, 21 to 1?
Yeah.
Why are we not doing
I will
that?
actually talk about that after I step out of the way from dogs. Might be awesome too.
And this is totally true. Raccoons are awesome.
Oh, speaking of raccoons. No, I can't do that now because I'm sharing the wrong screen. Okay, I will come back to the raccoons. Cliffhanger. Well, having pure white and pure black together actually causes eye strain. In one of the research papers I saw, 58% of people can't really handle this without getting eye strain. And it's kind of an intense light level change because you have 0 light on the black and you have 100% on the white. So your eyes actually get overstimulated. So our eyes have to work harder to adapt to the brightness. Kind of like when your phone does automatic brightness and it goes on and off when you're sitting close to a light source, but you're moving your phone. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that is what our eyes are doing, which means our eyes have to work so much harder to adapt to that brightness. So we can actually fix that. If we just change, it's still pure white in this case, and we change the pure black to an off black or dark gray. And this is what you need. This is the only thing I would personally recommend the lower one, unless you need a really high contrast.
Which one is the lower one in this case?
I mean the dogs. Because that still
You're recommending the dogs and not the raccoons.
or the cats.
Your slide is broken.
It depends on what you do. But I recommend the cats if we do another fix, though. Because you can see the contrast is quite different.
What about the background?
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this.
I'm feeling like I'm I'm a little bit ahead here.
You are, but that's
right?
fine. That's fine. Just keep the questions going. So if you put these text on a near white background, it will be even better. And I think you can see the difference here. There is a slight difference, but if you only look at one of them, it will still look like pure white on pure black, but your eyes won't get fatigued. And I usually prefer light themes, and you prefer dark themes.
I do.
So let's talk about that.
Because I have eyes.
But there's issues around this too. Because black is 0% light, it actually kills the light that usually comes from the screen, which means that your eyes need to work harder and open wider because now we need more light in. Just like a camera, we need to get some more light. So what happens if we do this, I don't know if you can see, but when it's pure white letters on pure black, there's kind of a blurry halo going on.
So is that what we're seeing right now?
It's what we're seeing right now. And that's called halation. Basically, it's a blurry halo. And that's the issue. We can't really focus because there's no light. It also affects users with astigmatism, which people of all ages
I have one of those.
Yeah, you see? So here I changed the background. If you notice here, there's a slight difference. So this is near black. This is actually 23, 23, 23. Oh, we should cheat. We should look at, there we go, the text. We want the text to be 52 on the black. Or 44, 44, 44. There we go. But again, I would recommend that we actually do some sort of combo, so we're not using full black or full white. We're doing near black and near white. I will say though, that low vision users that aren't completely blind, they tend to read better when we have pure black text on pure white background, and sometimes even white text on black backgrounds because the contrast is so harsh, and that's the only way low vision users sometimes can read. But for regular or average sighted users, near black or even gray is so much better to prevent that eye strain. And I think that we do want to include the low vision people as well, but I think we should put in an accessibility mode if we want to support that as well, because then we get win-win. Everybody can read. Okay, so back to our colors.
I remember at our conference, there
Which
was
conference?
a Sweet Hug.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a guy that had low vision. I'm not sure exactly what his thing was, but he was so happy that most of us had dark themes on
Yes.
our slides, because that was actually better for his eyes
Yeah.
to read.
And that's the exact same thing I was referring to. If you are not regular or average sighted, it might actually be better to go to the extreme, so to speak. Yeah. So, what did we decide on? Are we just skipping one of the colors? I think we can do that. Or we can bring in some sort of cream color, maybe.
Well,
Let's make it lighter.
first of all, I'm thinking about the background and the text color. Should those be part of the palette?
I don't think they need to. But I also think that these colors actually can work as that. But most of these color helper pages actually have helps for that. So let me name this Coding After Work or Web. No, Blazor.
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 Blazor face.
The nerd references. Let's save that.
Hey, we got Stacy and your mom in the chat.
Hi, y'all. Oh, right. I also promised.
We talked about you, Stacy.
We did. We did. He said you were right. He was wrong.
Said no such thing.
He actually adopted your suggestion from last time in the pipeline because it made more sense. Okay, so what you usually can do in most of these color pages is check for accessibility. So down here we can check for that. And up here, for some reason they call it colorblind, but blind is when you can't see at all. So that kind of says that they can't see any color, but they can actually, but that's just a me issue with the naming. But here we can see we don't have any conflicts for colors. If you have issues with
Could
colors.
you zoom in a little bit?
I can. There we go.
Because you have a touch computer.
I do. And here we can see there's three different. I'm pointing at my computer again. Here we have three different versions of because some of them can't see green, some can't see red and purples and all of that. So we can see what they will perceive the colors to be. So the reds will actually be greenish, but they still look pretty okay, I think. So we actually don't have any issues in this case. So that's good.
It's now I'm using the wrong term maybe, but the color blindness, is that always green or red?
No, that's for one of them. I don't remember which one is which, but these are the three main.
But it's always those colors, or is it yellow as well? Could it be yellow?
I think it can be different colors. Do we need to check
no,
that out?
No. I'm just.
No, not checking it out. Okay, so we need to read up on that. I'm not sure which color. I do remember though, one of the first classes I held. I showed a color palette from Setug, the conference, as an example on how we can make a color palette, and that's light pink, dark pink, super pink, off-white, and I think we have a different hue of off-white as well.
Super pink.
Yeah, and I was referring to this pink color all the time, and he's like, "What are you on about? It's the same color. Everything is purple." So I learned the hard way. Yeah, everything is purple. So I learned the hard way that we actually need to look at our presentations as well for that. So I try to be better. But this is, of course, not the only problem. We also talked about contrast. And up here, we have a contrast checker. Now I am going to cheat and copy, let's see, the red one, because I happen to know that it won't let me see that. So here we can do the, did you want the dark background?
Of course.
Yeah. And then we test the dark red. That won't do.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely won't do. So we can do that and just paste in whatever colors we have, and we can also just drag it here, add some more contrast, see if it's actually viable. And this dark color we cannot use as a text. And we can also...
But that's fine. We don't have to use it as text.
No, exactly. If it's just an element, it's fine, because we do have just the difference in like we do for this image, for instance. It's just ornaments.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if you can see it or not. So I wouldn't use that for that. But we can also here check for AA and AAA. I think if you can, go for AAA. If it's really, really difficult, fine, do the AA, but you should be mindful, because it's just colors for us. But for someone else, it's actually being able to use your solution. So I think we
and we should be inclusive in everything we do.
I know. So we can change colors here as well. We can use this pink. No, it's still very bad contrast. There we go. No, this isn't.
Still bad.
Yeah, for AAA, but it will get a AA. It passes for us. But there's also other contrast checkers. I think contrast checker. Oh, there we go. Which is from the organization I was talking about. And then you just put in your background and foreground, and it will help you and give you the ratio down here. That. And you will get really big indicators that you should have at least a 1.4, no, 1 to 4.6, I guess.
So I have a question. Mm-hmm. Let's say that I am colorblind.
Yeah.
And I'm using this site.
Mm-hmm.
And we have green and red things.
Yeah.
That is going to look basically the same.
Yeah. I know.
Is that good UX?
No, it's really bad UX. It's you thought half the way. Actually, there's multiple issues with using colors like red and green. Not only do they differ between continents, depending on where you are, red can be danger, stop, fire, stuff like that. Or it can be happiness and weddings and money envelopes. Literally. Very beautiful ones. So what they do here, though, is they have a check mark if you pass, and they have an X if you don't pass, which in and of itself is also an issue. Because here in Sweden, a check mark is okay. But I know, is it in the UK or is it in the US? Stacey have to help me here, I think. That check mark is no. It's in Sweden. It's the other way around. Yeah, I got that all wrong. In Sweden,
it's still a check mark is still okay in this
scenario, yes, we do understand this on the web. But when we get graded papers and stuff like that, a check mark means you made a mistake. And when they just do strike it over, it means you corrected it. I'm over here again. So if you are not an avid user on the web, this could actually mean the opposite, especially if you can't see the colors. So that's interesting as well. But you need to have at least made an effort and have the X, or I don't know, a poop emoji if it doesn't work.
You said poop. Now, you did mention that red was a signal color.
Yes.
But why isn't our exit signs when it's a fire, why aren't they red? In Sweden, they're green.
They are. And I think in in Europe they're green in general. And I think in hotels they are red. Some of them.
But in the US, I believe they're red.
Yeah, I don't know if they have green as well. But there's the obvious one. You shouldn't run to danger, right? But that's not...
So danger would be red in this case.
Yes, in the Western world, generally, red is stop or danger. But... I should say why. Because it's the color we see the quickest. It's like instant. It just steals our attention.
And that's because the color spectrum is
yeah. Orange is close to it, yellow is close to that, and so on and so forth. But the reason it's not red on the emergency exits here is because in case of emergency, something has happened. It's usually a fire, or the ship has sunk, or whatever sort of disaster going on. And in smoke, green is the color that we can perceive the fastest, and not red. So, yeah, that's why.
Stacy says that in the Netherlands, a good check mark looks more like a cross.
Yes, exactly. Well, is it a sideways cross? Don't you have your pen here?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you want to draw something?
Where can I draw on? I can draw
paint?
on... I can draw in paint? No, this is an interesting thing. So, when they grade the papers here, we get nothing. Come on.
Should work.
There we go. Yes. Oh, that's a nice one. Let's not talk about that. Okay. This is not good. But when we have corrected it, they do like that.
What?
Your teachers never did that?
No, they wrote an R for right.
No, yeah. But if you had an issue and they gave you the paper and they say, fix it. Our teacher did it this way.
Okay,
and then
so I
did
never
it,
did mistakes, so I don't know.
Yeah. You never did mistakes? Or did you only do mistakes?
No,
I don't know.
I never got it right.
Well, that's the kind of issues we had.
So I read somewhere that the reason why we, at least in our society, why red is a danger color is because it's the same color as our blood. And seeing our blood, that's a bad thing. I don't know if it's true, but
that would mean that you would faint when you saw Spider-Man. Because his red. Huh?
Could be. And there's also like we have Swedish politicians that when they're talking about the environment, they want to show you that I care about the environment. They have green clothes on them.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if it's true or not, but blue is a calming color.
So they say.
So that's why basically all the flights have blue seats. Again, don't know if it's true, but in the book I read, that's what it said.
And also why, well, it did have a lot of scientific papers backing up the claims, but it's like statistics. You can just do another test. But some of those actually have a lot of research behind them. Some of them are just, well, fun. But since we now, it could be the, I don't know what you call it, but we say it's calming, therefore it now is calming because we have programmed ourselves for so many millennia. Well, maybe not millennia, but that blue is calm, and you see the sky is blue when it's not a storm coming in, because then it's not blue. And I think a lot of hospitals, they also have blue or green. But you talked about nature, right? Or environmental friendly.
Yeah.
Do you know why cars? Well, I blew that one. No, I can't say it as a question. So cars are not allowed to use what I've read, green in their logos, like markings, like they have a different nature markings, or this is good for the environment markings and stuff like that. So they need to use blue. So they have tried to. This is close enough. So when we want to show that we are environmentally friendly, they use blue to try to, well, trick, I guess, because cars isn't really that environmentally friendly, even if you get an environmentally friendly car.
I did not know that.
Well, it's...
but that's interesting.
Yeah, very.
And that kind of cements the idea that green is in a way an environmental friendly.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't have to do with the color per se. It could be just because in society, all the environmental friendly markings that the governments and organizations gives out that you need to be certified for usually have some white or green in them. So they don't want the car manufacturers to, well, lie without lying. Because you can put whatever you want on your products, which will look like a stamp or certification, but it isn't. Nobody can stop you from that. I think there's one example where they put a bunny on something that was supposed to be vegan friendly or cruelty free. It was supposed to be cruelty free, but there was nothing backing it up. It was just a bunny. So yeah, they take it a little bit too far. But colors are so fun.
They are. Apparently.
There was. I'm going on a tangent here, but there was a study back in the day, which Microsoft research team from back when live search was a thing. So this is a few years back, together with Amazon. They worked together, and they. I'm telling a different story. My gosh, my brain. Bing! Bing! I was going to talk about Bing.
So let's back up.
Thank you. Thank you. So, back in the day, Bing...
Which has nothing to do with Amazon.
No! Not in this case.
Nothing to do with live search.
We can do that story another time when we talk about reaction times. And responsiveness and stuff like that. But for now... They did a huge study on which color the search result, when you search for something in the browser, what color engaged the most people. So they tried all sorts of colors, and then they found that blue was the one that most people were engaged by. And then they tried like a gazillion different blues, and they found one specific blue color, and when they did the math on it, it would give them 80, or was it 90? Whatever, $80 million more in ad revenues because people actually clicked the thing. So they changed a blue color to a blue color and gained up to 80 or 90 million dollars.
I think it was 80.
Yeah, it's insane. And fun fact.
Do you know if they still use that color?
They don't. That's the fun fact.
So there's a new color that is even better.
Imagine how much that was worth it if they have changed it again. So it's just not always about what looks great. It's also, you can take it so far. It's so interesting.
I'm super fascinated that a color can make such a big difference just by, well, people are not clicking the links because it's the wrong blue color.
Yeah, I
and
know.
now it's the right blue color. I'm going to click that.
But they have done research where they have scanned the brain at the same time as they are shown colors. And I don't remember the whole study, but I do remember that orange was actually kicking, was it dopamine? I think it was dopamine in the brain. So you were actually, you wanted action. You were...
That sounds like dopamine.
It's so interesting.
So Stacy said that a place where I used to work, well, no, not where I used to work, but she used to work, changed the call to action button from blue to radioactive green. And it looked awful. And the conversion went up 20%.
Yeah, that is... Yeah. And because it's such a strong color, I'm guessing you actually got the attention like that. To that place's defense, it was in the mid-90s. Pages looked a little bit different back then.
They did. But I'm pretty sure that would still work today because it grabs your attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you shouldn't use really bright red, orange, well, obviously neon green, and yellow and stuff like that for stuff that isn't important. Which is also very interesting when you do presentations. Sometimes people have their logos on the presentations and they have dates and they have all sorts of colors, and everything you see is out in the corners and not actually the content, which should be the most important thing. So yeah, you can actually steer where the users are looking. Same thing with gradients. You can draw them in, even if you have a slight gradient going towards one place, people will draw their attention there. It's very interesting.
I'm really fascinated about corners as well, because sharp corners will draw your attention to the corners and not to the content. And funny enough, Windows 11 was announced today, and they have rounded corners.
Yeah, because now we can look at the content. It's super interesting. Not that it's a tangent at all.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
No. I can go on with colors forever, I think.
Okay, so you promised raccoons.
Oh, I did
I
promise
want raccoons.
Yes. So we can switch back to whatever you want to switch back to. And I will bring in, where's my page? I lost the page. Here it is.
Page.
Well, you need to switch. That's why I said you need to switch.
What do you want me to switch to? I can
because
switch to
otherwise,
my computer.
yeah. Because otherwise it will be like that. There we go. Your book I saw on Amazon is the #1 new release in C# programming.
It's true.
And it has raccoons.
And more importantly, we haven't talked about that. It's released. It's done.
It is released. It is released. And if you put Blazor, exclamation mark, Blazor in the chat, it should
show a link.
Show a link, and it did.
Show a link.
Awesome. Because it's now available.
And
Super
it has
fresh.
raccoons.
Yeah, it does. Actually, it's a good book. It's a really good book.
I would argue that this is the only Blazor book that has raccoons.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but that's what I'm sticking with.
I think you could go as far as saying the only C# book as well.
Ooh. Could it even be the only book that is not about raccoons having raccoons on the cover?
I don't think we can go that far, though.
Only book with it. And the really cool thing here is, I mean, this book should be about garbage collection, but it's not. It's actually a little bit about garbage collection.
Well, you have the garbage collectors on the screen. Well, on the cover.
Front and center.
Yeah. So you're not even joking around with that.
I see you have garbage. May I collect it, please?
You should do a plugin for Visual Studio that every time a garbage collector do something, you have a little raccoon running over the screen.
I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Gonna pop up. Hello, sir. I see you have garbage.
Do you want me to collect it? No, honestly, it's actually a really good book. And I know I'm biased, but I also manage, most of you know I'm not a coder, but I managed to actually do a blog engine with this book. And oddly enough, my favorite chapter was probably your not least favorite, the JavaScript chapter.
But that's a really cool thing about Blazor. We're gonna do some JavaScript in this project as well. You can do JavaScript.
Yeah.
If you need to go out of the C# world, you can do that. I'm actually working on a project right now. I'm not gonna tell you more about that, but I'm writing a lot of JavaScript at this point.
Yeah. And I haven't actually heard you curse that much.
Yeah, I have the AC on.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's been warm.
In the office, no one can hear you cry.
Well, no one can see you cry because it's so warm that nobody knows.
Yeah.
Well, while I'm actually on here, I'm going to do that shameless plug again. So we have a kitty corn.
Kitty corn.
All proceeds from the shop, which I should actually put the link in as well. What was that? That was exclamation point, kitty corn. There we go. Yay! So all profits from all kitty corn merch now and forever will go to the fundraising organization that strengthens LGBTQ individuals'
That's also
rights in the world.
a word that's hard to say.
It's actually hard because in Sweden we use a different acronym. So I get them mixed up because they're half is the same and half isn't. So I get them mixed up. But we still want to support them. So we have awesome merch. How do I get rid of the cat? No, here.
It's there. Can't get rid of it.
No.
So are we done with colors? Do we have what we need?
I think for now we have what we need. I think
switch back to your computer.
We can do that. Where did my colors go? Here we go. Can I see my colors? I think for now this is what we will base it on. And I will give you a hot tip. Usually, or well, quite often, you do these colors here on this tiny little squares, and then when you put them on an actual page, this little creamy color, the color B, will look really bright. Sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes it just happens. I thought before you could click this and get a larger screen, but maybe that's just if you go through the actual themes, because you can get them a little bit wider. But I think for now, this will do, and then we will try it out. And since we are, I demand it, saving everything in a shared resource, we can easily just switch out the colors. And I think we shouldn't name the colors bright red. We should name them accent color and dark color and so on, because then we are not having to change that even at those places.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So do we have, where's the, here we are. So we created a color scheme. How do I do this?
You need to open it.
I need to open it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Click it.
Click it. And I need to, how do I mark it as done?
So it's currently state to do.
To do?
Can
Well,
you see
it's
that?
not yet.
And now
Actually,
it's done.
There we go.
Now we're cheating a little bit. I mean, we should have gone in process or in progress or
But
whatever
since
it
our
said.
sprints is maximum 90 minutes, I think we can be
I
forgiven.
think we're fine.
I think people will forgive us for that. And
That's one
we
is done.
did check
Great.
for low vision issues, and we will come back because sometimes we, like we said, we add the white pages or black pages and stuff just happens to get in there anyways. We need to do a check for accessibility later on, and we will do that for real, not just for our colors and stuff like that.
But when we're working with like accessibility or UX, that isn't something that you do just do it and then you're done.
No.
That's something we will come back to over and over again.
Definitely. And we did check for the color issues as well. And done.
Actually, it's one more, right? It's also the color scheme up there, the blue one.
Oh, you need to mark that as well. Interesting.
So I think there were a feature where they went out. Oh, when all the work items are or the tasks are done, the
top one.
The product backlog item would be marked as done as well. I have never seen that work, but
interesting. Maybe someone knows. So I'm just going to mark that as done because reason work is finished.
Work is finished.
It is. There we go.
Awesome. So let's take a look at the backlog again. Let's see what we got.
Do I need to refresh?
You might need.
Or you mean go into the sprint?
Actually, the sprint is done. So I just wanted to see what else we got in the backlog for the next time.
There we go.
So what we should do...
why is add a test project in here? And component library, we already did that.
Maybe
because
they
you
aren't
didn't mark
as done.
No, those are to do. So let me see if I can do that one done and get the item as well. I couldn't.
Why didn't it mark them as done? Maybe I wrote resolve and should have done resolved or something like that.
Oh,
might have been that. Sorry about that.
There we go. But now I know how to do it.
That's good.
For this
so the next episode, I think we should bring in all the colors.
Yep.
Let's talk about CSS. Let's talk about SAS because that's better.
You prefer that?
Everyone should prefer that.
You prefer that. You shouldn't be as excluding.
Everyone should.
That is why the chat room said you should do it in YAML. You will see. They will make you do JavaScript things.
Yep.
And YAML. Okay, so we need to look at bringing in all of those.
Let's add a work item when we're remembering it. So add color scheme in SAS. There we go.
Add.
And I think that makes sense to actually have it on the top as well because...
Well, that is our next step.
Yeah. And maybe we should... Well, I'm a developer.
You are.
I want something to work right now.
Yeah.
I want to build something. So let's show the podcasts as well. Well, it's already in there,
it's already
so I don't
there.
have to add that.
Yeah, okay. And that we can do with just simple RSS for now or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking is going to be the final solution as well.
Yeah.
We're just going to add...
Just so we have something...
list them, going to do something. We're going to talk about...
So we don't have to have the weather and we don't have to have...
And we're going to talk about dependency injection and stuff like that.
Oh, that's fun. Said no
and
one
you
ever.
know about that now.
I've read it in the book. I've made stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. We will probably have 10 million more points. But
this is just the start. We will...
we will add more things.
I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be the final solution
No,
with,
we
with
never
the
know.
using
It's a working-
RSS and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. But at least we get some data on the page.
Mm-hmm.
So we can check if the colors actually make sense, or if we need to check, need to tweak them, I should say.
Tweak.
So we are looking at bringing in the colors, bringing in podcasts. And is that it? Well, let's see if we run into any problems.
Yeah, we can also make sure that when we're talking about CSS, we add a dark theme and a light theme and be able to switch between the two. I have no idea how to do that at this point, so...
Add possibility for themes. No, not door themes. Okay, so remember how the heat stroke is messing up my brain? I am reading on the furthest away screen over there instead of my laptop, which is right here. And I don't have perfect eyesight.
Hi.
Did you just do a pun again?
I'm sorry.
Yep, there you go. Need to have at least one pun. Okay, so sprint is done.
Sprint is done.
Awesome. Sprint drop. That's not how you do it, is it?
Could be. Could be.
We should bring in someone to actually make us do all the things, like a Scrum Master.
Aren't that you? I thought you were the Scrum Master.
Am I?
I don't know.
So are you the whole dev team?
I guess so.
Who's the product owner?
I don't know.
I think our Scrum team has issues. First of all, we're just 2 people. That's not recommended. Well, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
It's not real sprints. I don't think any company in the whole wide world actually had 90-minute sprints.
We're the first.
There's that.
First.
Yep. So that's it for today. Yeah.
So until the next time. Actually, we're
Awesome.
not going to do it next week because I have a work engagement. But the week after
There you
that, I believe
I think so.
we do have guests as well.
I think so. Let's see. We can pull up our schedule here.
Oh, you even added them there. That's perfect.
That I did eons ago. If I can find the schedule. How do you find the schedule when you're actually in here?
I think you need to go to...
To that page? No,
Yeah.
Here we
perhaps. There
go.
we go. Schedule. Is it showing all? Yeah, you can page. That's great.
Yeah.
So we're not
we
doing
are
anything
live.
next week. We are live.
Yeah,
That's good.
So let's skip ahead. Here we have responsive and adaptive tactics for Blazor application with Ed Sharbanar. So we can actually learn from him to bring in responsive and adaptive things in the future for our page.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to fail with it first.
That's good. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.